this year has been like record scam for us. So the recent one we had, I think 2 of them, they basically use fraudulent credit cards. This is quite basic, but they buy PCs and they have the PC shipped to a 3PL facility. And then within the next day, it ships out to like Vietnam or Myanmar. And then 4 days later, the guy whose credit card got stolen, he's like, oh, this is a fraudulent request. The banks will call back the money from us. And then we lose that $2,000, $3,000.
So how do you solve? I just want to find out how do you mitigate. What are you doing to like try to mitigate this? All these
raise more money.
So yeah, my name is Reggie. I started the Financial Coconut Podcast. Today we are at Wolfer's event. More importantly, I think for the audience to get to know all of you before we can start the panel of like why you expand your business abroad, right? Is Singapore too small a market, right? Walk us through. Introduce yourself for our listeners.
Hi, my name is Ivan. We own a baby and maternity brand. And our business primarily is in the western part of the world, the US, Canada, Australia, and Europe. Yeah, so no Singapore presence.
Just before the rest, how did a man like you start a maternity
I started this with my wife.
Oh.
So when we had our first child, then my wife was passionate about baby products. And I'm passionate about e-commerce, digital marketing. So we said, why not we combine power and then we start an e-commerce business. So that's how we started.
Not easy.
7 years ago.
Do with wife, not easy. So that's another podcast. Okay, that's for another day. Yes, Sean, introduce yourself.
Hi everyone. My name is Sean. I'm the founder of Dreamco. We're one of the leading PC manufacturers in Singapore, a local brand. We also serve the B2B market as well as the enterprise space in the AI data center. We are predominantly in Singapore, unlike Ivan. We have tried to expand overseas, but we'll go into that sometime.
So today you are the failed case example.
Yeah, the failed case.
So now he got a lot of lessons to share, okay? So that's later. And yes, Ho Feng.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Ho. I'm the co-founder and sales director from Verse Design. So for those of you who do not know about us, we are Shopify Plus agency partners. We focus on 2 things. We build high conversion Shopify e-commerce websites and we drive clicks to convert to customers. And we are HQ in Singapore, and now we have expanded our footprints to about 6 different countries and regions.
Awesome. So maybe just to kind of get the ball rolling, right? What made you started looking at expanding beyond your home market? So you have a slightly different story because your so-called home market is in the US, right? And then you expand into other parts of the Western world in that sense, right? So, but all that being said, regardless of where's your home market, it's not every day you wake up and say, I'm going to expand abroad, right? There are a lot of problems that comes along with it, as much as there are opportunities. So like, what made you guys think of like, okay, I'm going to expand beyond where I'm already comfortable in?
Okay, the failed case will go first, okay? So I mean, like what Graham mentioned earlier, I think operating a business in Singapore is great for HQ, right? It's very easy to start your business. You can effectively, as a Singaporean, register your business in like 30 minutes on Accra and then get a bank account running because, Singapore is so small. You use a local bank, they all trust you. But the problem in Singapore is that you don't have scale, especially in a low margin business, for example, PCs. You definitely need scale. And this is what Singapore can't offer you. And as what Graham mentioned earlier as well, in Singapore, you have very fierce competition in a very commoditized product. So how do you actually stand out? Do you want to stay in Singapore and fight this battle of expending more money in SEO, SEM marketing just to win over that little bit of market share for the little bit of margin? Or do you want to go into a different market like Vietnam, Thailand, Cambodia even? Yeah. So that's one of the main reasons why we had to expand overseas.
Yeah, but you are the dominant player in your vertical already. It's between you and Aftershock, right? Pretty much the 2 of you, right? So, but then when you try to expand into another market, from what I know about your story is you didn't use your main product line, right? So what's the thought process?
So I spoke to Reginald yesterday and basically when we wanted to expand, we're in the business of custom PC space, but we also manufacture everything from our own keyboards and mice from China or Taiwan, as well as monitors. And this is effectively to compete with, your incumbent brands like LG, Samsung, and all these guys. So we do have a price advantage, but to bring our main core, Dreamcore PC brand overseas, it requires a huge CapEx investment. You need the team, you need the warehouse, the production facility, the service center, and you need a huge marketing plan to back it up. And when you enter a market, I think when you are, when you're starting from zero as a $0 entrepreneur, it's easy to say, okay, let's take the first step. We burn some cash and we see how where this goes. But once you are in the middle of the journey, I think it's very difficult to say, okay, let's just plonk down, $2 million, and then we're just going to go into expand in another market. So what we did was we saw this novel solution where we would just enter with a different product line under our Dreamcore brand, but in a more D2C fashion. So we actually launched monitors in Malaysia. And when we did that, basically it's drop shipping effectively. I don't need a service center. It's very, very 3PL heavy. And it's what, Clara mentioned earlier, just buy the products, manufacture from overseas, ship them in, you have your 3PL handle the last mile, and that's really it. And you can focus on your SEO, SEM game. You don't have to worry too much about the cost of setting up an entire operation.
So that sounded like a plan, right? But it didn't work out, right? So what happened? Give us a little bit more.
There are three guys.
It's okay. The story will develop one. Don't worry, huh? Yes, yeah. The juicy parts need to come, yes.
I mean, everything is down to our fault, basically. But ultimately, during COVID, everyone in the tech space did well. Work from home PCs, productivity setups, standing desks, chairs, everything did well. I think this was when manufacturing ramped up globally in China and Taiwan. And post-COVID, we obviously saw a slump. And when the slump happened, everybody had massive inventory to clear. So again, back to what Graham said earlier, now everyone's on lean inventory to survive. And when that happened, when everyone had too much inventory to clear, what happens? The price all drop. So even though we launched a very good product in the Malaysian market as our first touch point, by then the incumbents had tons of inventory to clear. And do you want to buy, a monitor from an up-and-coming brand like Dreamcore, or do you want to buy LG and Samsung at the same price? I think that's kind of where we were at, and we had to make the painful decision to pull back.
Okay, fair. We will develop the story. But Ivan, I think you also have quite an interesting story around here. So you are essentially what they call a 3PL, right? You kind of bring in a brand and then you kind of go down that path, direct to consumer, right? So how is your business like? Why do you choose to start in the US and all that jazz?
So 2017, when we started, I think e-commerce and model was very popular. So that everybody was talking about e-commerce and uptrend.
Yeah, it's all over my YouTube channel.
And then we were introduced to this program by Amazon called the FBA program, Fulfilled by Amazon program, whereby you shoot the inventory to them and then they will do the last mile fulfillment for you. And then they have a platform whereby you can reach out to their customers and sell your products to them. So naively, we're thinking like, starting in Singapore and starting in the US, I think both also very hard. So and since both were very hard and US is such a big market, so why not we choose the big market? Then naively, that's how we decided to start in the US. And then it's been 7 years since then.
Okay. Ho Feng, is that true? If both markets are equally hard, might as well start in the US? Because you work with a lot of clients. So is that a fallacy or is that accurate?
I think it very much depends on how much bullet you have.
Okay. You want to elaborate a little bit more? What does that mean?
Yeah, US is a rather big market. I think the setting up everything is a lot of good potentials, but also I think the competition is also rather high. And then in terms of driving traffic, run your marketing campaigns and all this is going to be next level compared to Singapore or Southeast Asia countries.
Okay. Can you give us a bit more tangible? What does next level look like?
For example, we just use SEO as a point of view. In Google USA and Google Singapore, both will only have 10 positions on Google first page. Can you imagine how many players that are in the state compared to in Singapore? Yeah, that's the next level of competitions.
Fair. But you have kind of facilitated quite a lot of expansion for some of the local brands, into the region. And they had some problems along the way, something about systems and all that jazz. You want to share with our audience?
We have one of the merchants who actually running the e-commerce cross-border business for over 10 over years. So for these merchants, proud to migrating to Shopify Plus, and think they are running a gentle system, which is a very heavy, very hard to customize system. They face a lot of challenges. I still remember one of the things, and then me and my team, we always have to stand by 20 database. And then when they blast out the email, And then guess what happened? Everybody will go and click the EDM and then come to the website. And then because for every of the new collections is a limited quantity. So you don't get it, that means you're going to wait for the next collections. So what happens is every time we see the website slow down until a stage is unresponsive, and then you can't open it. So we have to quickly get our teams and then get our crews to go in and then do something and then to bring it back. And then that was the challenge actually for many of the merchants, I believe. They are not the only one.
So the answer is to port over, use another system.
Yes, the answer is you really need to find a good platform which actually allows you to scale up, especially during your festival, your peak sales period. And then you do not need to worry about you pump in so much money for your marketing, you drive quality clicks to the site, but then only realize and then it can't convert. So if you fail at the last step, and then everything will not work.
Okay, so later go for his workshop lah. Okay, outside you'll hear more.
I'd
Yes.
like to add on to
Yes,
what Feng said. So basically, because like when you want to expand overseas, doing a D2C model, you have to spend a lot of money on marketing, acquiring customers, you have to do SEO, SEM, all these are a lot of money. So that's why for us, when we started, we leverage on an e-commerce platform and we go through the marketplace e-commerce platform route whereby there's really ready customers. We just need to figure out how do we get our products in front of these ready customers, and then making sure our product listing is good, our photography is good, reviews are good, and that's where we actually expanded. So actually for us, we didn't burn a lot of money in the US. In fact, in the first year, we were really profitable. Yeah, and
End of story.
that's how good the market lah.
Yeah, we very lucky we made it profitable. But do you expand beyond marketplace platform after that, or you're still doing the marketplaces only?
A big part of our business is still on the marketplace. Like we establish ourselves as a marketplace brand rather than a Shopify D2C brand running fanciful Facebook ads. Yeah.
That one very loaded, huh? Fanciful Facebook ads. That's for later, yes. But actually, I wanted to dig a little bit deeper to what Sean said just now. When you are a $0 entrepreneur, everything also do, right? But you grind it out. 2-3 years in, you find a product market fit, you have a home base, you got a business already, right? And now when you try to enter into another market, you're not gonna do another 3 years, right? Right? You want to go in 6 months, give me something. With that thought process, entering a new market, you also expanded into a new market, not just in the US anymore, right? So what were the earlier challenges once you entered in? After all your market study, everything looked very sweet one, right? But once you went in, what are some of the common challenges that you didn't kind of prepare for?
So for us, we were in US for about 3 years, and then we expanded to Canada, Australia, and Europe. I think so for us, it was a natural progression because we just follow Amazon's footprint. So whenever they have a presence in, they are the number one e-commerce platform there, and then we just follow. So for us, it was a very natural progression to just expand to the other countries, and they make it very easy for you. With one click, you can have your product listings on all the marketplace. Then you got to figure out the compliance in the country, the regulation, the tax, and all the legal stuff. And then WordFirst was very supportive. They have all these multi-currencies that we can use to like straight away receive money in Canadian dollars, in Europe dollars, in Australian dollars. We are using WordFirst since day one.
Okay, very smooth plug. I don't need to plug already. Yeah. Good stuff. And Sean, what about you? Your story is quite interesting on this.
I mean, we haven't really
Hired a whole bunch.
Yeah, we haven't really operated in a foreign country for a very long time. But I think one of the bigger challenges that we face has always been manpower. I think whether it's foreign or local, hiring the right people as well as the right partners to manage the business, I think that is, one of the make or breaks. Anything else you can sort of recover from, but if you don't have a strong foundational team that is aligned to your vision, then it's very, very difficult to grow anywhere. So I think a lot of successful companies, in a vertical or elsewhere, instead of going over and saying, I'm the hero, I'm from Singapore, I'm going to, change the landscape and all that by myself, you should actually look for a partner that understands the local background much more than you. And you can never understand it, right?
So is this a retrospective thought process?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. Please continue. Yeah.
And without that partner, I think you're kind of just wasting a lot of time, wasting a lot of resources on trying to bash through the market. Unless you have something that is so unique, you have this moat around it, almost like a patent that everybody wants, then yeah, it doesn't really matter because it comes from you. But if you're trying to expand a commoditized product into a different location, I think that's super important. So one of the kind of workarounds that we try to fix our overseas expansion was to instead sell directly to local companies, and that has been working out for us very, very well. So instead of having a service center there, we actually sell to Brunei, Taiwan, Philippines, and all these countries directly to the end users instead.
Okay, so this is after you've already tried it, you realize that it's too hard to operate. Let's just work with a local partner.
Not that it's too hard. I think we haven't found the right partner to go in with. So once that is secure, I think that will definitely go again.
Okay, fair. And Ho Feng, is this the consensus among some of your partners?
Yes, we've from the agency point of view and my own observations, this is quite true. I think for overseas expansions, we've seen a lot of, but they are slightly different demographics that we have seen. Some of our e-commerce merchants, they were originated maybe like their background is traditional retailers. So from retailer, they go online. And then from online, then they expand to overseas. So we've seen a trend that is that for these kind of traditional retailers, they tend to start their brick and mortar shops in overseas.
Really?
Yeah.
Isn't that very high capex?
It is. But this is what they are good at. And then I believe their success rate, right, is kind of higher for them to go with the traditional way to expand. So we've seen some of the players and actually the merchants, they do this. And then, but we also see other pure e-commerce players, and then what they do is they will test new market first, like what Sean has mentioned, and then directly open up markets to those like countries with a similar, let's say, demographics, a similar customer base, and then they test it out before they fully go in and enter to that market to set up their own localized warehouse, their own localized operation teams, and then to do a full, we call it a country expansions.
Yeah, fair. I mean, that's why Singapore, Malaysia is so interesting, right? Because it's one cultural circle. Everybody's pretty similar. Desires are similar, right? But once you enter, Philippines, Vietnam, Thailand, all look very sexy, but culturally very different, right? So that's a different way to run in that space. But you were talking about testing, right? So I think a lot of people, they want to test. It's all for risk management, right? Like you already have a business, you want to expand, but you want to test, right? So what are some of the best-in-class methods to test a new market? How would you all do it?
Okay, if you are already a Shopify merchant, it's a lot easy. You just need to tap on the latest edition of Shopify Markets, which one of our merchants, they enter into a new market, they made this decision, and then they made it in less than 24 hours. And then if you are not a Shopify...
Wait, can you elaborate a little bit? How do you do it in 24 hours?
Oh, this part, actually, Shopify Markets allows the merchants to DIY, and then you are able to actually enter and enable foreign markets just by localize the currency, localize the language, localize probably the payment gateways, and then you are ready to go in for the first step. And we noticed that for some other platforms, which entering into a new market is rather costly and takes a lot of time. The time to market is much longer. So for that one, there's a great opportunity loss if the platform is not that user-friendly to support you for these.
So the translation is accurate?
Not 100%.
Oh, yeah.
But the interesting part is after you use some of the, let's say, the Shopify apps, the adapt to translate to adapt app, right? Then after that, it allows you to manually edit those translated contents. So it depends on whether you are okay with the, we call it a merchant translated, or you still can do actually a little bit of the edits, post edits after that.
Okay, fair. What about you guys? How would you test a new market today?
I mean, it's pretty standard. I think you normally go down the data route, right? So you check whatever you can check with your SEO, SEM tools in the local country or the country you're targeting. You know what kind of keywords are hot and popular based on your industry. Then you obviously go down and talk to other business owners, network a little bit, see who you can help you on your journey in the new region. And the third one is to commission a study. Sometimes it may be costly depending on who you use. You can go all the way to like BCG if you want, to commission a study on the entire landscape and tell you, what are the focus markets, what are focus products, as well as what are the pros and cons of the current competitors. And then that's when you can go in. Yeah, so it's to me it's pretty standard. If you don't have a lot of budget, you just do your own data scraping route. If you do have money, then you can go the consultancy route and get the data quickly.
Okay, fair. Ivan, other than just follow Amazon?
I think now with the internet, it's so easy to get like data, and especially Amazon again. It's a platform whereby you can get a lot of customer data and the demand of a particular product in that market. So by using some schools tool to analyze, you can easily know this particular product is ours, what's the demand in that country, and what are the customer feedback of that product in that country, and whether you feel there's a market fit. So if you feel it's fit, then you just ship out a couple, like a small amount inventory there, and just to test out the market and see what's the take up rate and see if people buy. And then if people buy, then we just go all in.
Yeah. Since we already name drop like no tomorrow, right? There are a lot of brands that are being name dropped. What are some of the tools that you use then?
Basically,
Amazon tools.
like, Amazon software tools. But if you talk about SCM, there's like SEMrush. Yeah, but mainly we use Amazon tools to analyze Amazon data and Amazon customers' feedback and everything.
Okay. So the baseline thought these days, right, is a lot of the other things have been pretty much solved by business solution suites, right? Like Wolfer solve your currency struggles. You got last mile delivery platform. You got e-commerce back-end platforms. They pretty much vertically integrate a lot of the struggles that a business owner have, especially expanding abroad, right? So the thought process is, since they already do everything, then all you need to focus on is branding and marketing, right? That's the narrative. Is this true? Is that a fair statement? Or are there other struggles in that process that you realize, hey, it's not so simple, there are other things?
I think from the agency point of view, it's not that easy. The reason is because I think you need to solve the fundamental thing, which is your product market fit and your product USP first. And then this is the fundamental one. Without this one, everything else will not be valid. And then the second part is marketing is important. Driving traffic, driving clicks and all this. But in the actual reality is that the average number that we have gotten from a Shopify official is that for cross-border e-commerce, the average conversion rate is at about 1.88%, slightly below 2%. So what happened to the 98% of them when they land on your website, but then they leave actually plays an important part. So this is, I think, for every e-commerce merchants to think and to consider how you attract the 98% of them. Some of the strategy could be like you try to get them to leave probably their emails and then subscribe to your list or subscribe to certain incentives, and so that you can form some sort of establish some sort of touch points and connections with them, and then your marketing automations can come into the play, because driving marketing traffics like paid search, paid socials is become a lot more expensive than before. So how to retain them is actually a question for all the e-commerce merchants to consider.
What about you guys? Actual experience?
I'm a bit like opposite of him, because it says Shopify conversions are 1%, which is true, because on our website it's also like 1 point something percent. But when we do e-commerce, there are already buyers, so our conversion is like 10 to 15%. I mean, the difference is a lot of difference. So it's easier to get people to buy from you because they are already looking for certain products. So if like what he said, the payments are all integrated, the logistics are all integrated. So initially when we started, it was really about just branding and marketing and also product quality, of course. And the issue now is, how do we get people to buy and how do we stand out from our competitors on the marketplace? So we were just really focusing on that for the first 1 to 2 years, and really just trying to figure out how do we stand out from competitors, how do we get good product reviews, how do we get customer to buy from us.
Yeah. So then what are some of the strategies to stand out from your competitors that you've tried and works?
I think on the marketplace, with no branding, as a new brand, nobody knows who you are. I think then your pricing strategy is number one. Of course, number two is your
pricing strategy is a sophisticated way of saying cheap, lah. Is it? Must price out your competitor. But is that the idea?
No. Maybe he's giving more value at the same price point.
More value.
Okay.
How do you improve the product quality? And also customer review. is very important on the or the e-commerce platform. We do what we can as much as possible to get as many 5-star reviews as we can. And then over time, it builds up. And then once you have like a sizable number of reviews, then we call it, it's kind of like a moat compared. So if like 10,000 reviews for a product compared to someone who has 5 reviews, then like 10,000 reviews becomes a moat for you. Yeah.
I mean, from a consumer standpoint, it's true, right? If the pricing is similar, the one with higher review, I'll just take it, right? So that's a fair point. Yeah. What about you guys?
So I think what both of them covered is absolutely correct. Even though it may seem like there's only marketing and branding left, ultimately it's still the product fit and how well received your product is. And that's also kind of one of the challenges that we face because we don't really have a moat except that we have started earlier, we have better service, our products are great. But tomorrow, any of you can say, hey, I'm going to start a custom PC company because you just put 10 pieces of components together, right? Like anyone can do it, right? So ultimately, you need to build that moat. And I think every entrepreneur goes through that same path. First, you kind of find a product that you want to do, maybe passion or not, market the shit out of it, get it to some scale. Then I think that's where Ivan is now when he has that scale. What's next? If you continue in this marketing and branding thing, it may not move the needle much because you're already there. So what's going to happen next is that you have to innovate on your products, right? You need to say, we have used specifically baby products. Let's say we work with A-Star or something to develop something that is like lighter than bamboo fabric, something like that.
I love how A-Star is in baby products. But they do. Just
they do everything, right?
Yeah, so, they want to land in the market.
So then you have IP now. And it becomes an IP play. No one else can touch your IP. I think that is the next step. I mean, I'm not saying that should be your next step. That's what I would do already. Yeah.
Okay, fair. So I think that they've answered a lot of good stuff, right? And I would like to kind of open up the floor. Anybody has specific questions for the panel?
Thank you, speakers, three gentlemen, for sharing your thoughts. I'm Percy. We work with a lot of D2C brands and would love to pick your brain on when you go through the journey from 0 to 1, scaling up, becoming, the industry leader in your field, right? How do you, do you do all this growth initiative locally and cross-border? Do you fund them with your own balance sheet, or do you leverage on, bank loans, private credit, or equity investor through different journeys?
Okay, so we haven't really raised money from institutions. So it's primarily friends and family, and of course my own cash. So everything is funded through the company. So yes, technically, whether it's through loans, whether it's through funds raised, everything is funded through the balance sheet. But we have not gone out to a different market to, for example, partner with a local there and then get joint investment with a different company. I think that's something we haven't done yet.
Is there a thought process why you have not explored it?
I think at the beginning, even though we are 7, 8 years in, I don't know, time flew really fast. I don't consider it like
entrepreneur,
a long time.
Very fuzzy one, right?
So I don't think we were ready at that time to take that step. But I think going forward, we are looking very aggressively outwards to see, because ultimately it's a market share game. It's a volume game for us. And without partnering up with someone else in a different region, I think it's very, very difficult to stay in Singapore.
Okay, so Sean just said he's open to funding round. You can email him. Okay, so, Ivan, you got anything to add on that?
We grew organically. We also don't have any investors or don't have any loans and everything. So we are debt-free. Interestingly, when I tell people that we do not have employees in the US, do not have employees in the Europe, we have 0 employees in all these countries that we're in. So people are quite surprised. And again, because of internet, everything is publicly available. So you don't really need to have, like employees in the US on the ground to do your research for you, whereby you can easily do it in the US. I mean on the internet. So pretty much everything for us is still in Singapore, for our team here, a few virtual assistants in the Philippines.
But to answer your question, we didn't specifically raise for expansion, if that's what you were asking. We didn't specifically raise, or we didn't specifically take on a bank loan for the expansion. It's more like we had access to credit and then we just took on as much credit as we could. I think a couple of years ago, interest rates were like 0%, 0.5%. Yeah. So, money was cheap, so we took it. And then we saw, okay, let's see what we can do with this. Rather than, I know it's a little bit wrong, but we should have said, okay, this is the business plan. We need X amount to expand to Malaysia. This is, earmarked for that. No, we didn't do that.
Okay.
We were just
great.
like, let's go.
Go. Let's just cross. Okay, great. Any other questions?
A little bit deeper on your resource allocation part. Like do you have like a percentage that you allocate aside for marketing, cost of goods sold, operations, and profit margins? There is a fine balance on how much you need to spend in order to gain. So I'd like to know what are your formulas for that.
Anybody?
It's how we expand. We expand via product range. So more and more different kinds of baby products that we develop. So usually how we do it is we set aside like 10% of our annual profits, and then we use it to develop new products. And then from there, we will, my finance manager will do like hiring budgets required in order to follow our expansion plans, which works out to be about, I think, maybe 5% of our net profit due to hiring and increase manpower, headcount, and everything. So we pre-plan every year, the year ahead, the budget allocated, and then we just stick to that budget. Unless something very serious arises, then we need to relook into the budget that we have set aside.
Do you see his energy when he say, my finance manager? That means the financial controller stopped some of his plans before. Okay, last question. I hope that answered if you got any other things to add on that? If not,
I mean, we typically set aside 3% of our annual revenue for marketing, but the rest of the stuff like product development and all that isn't too expensive for us. Sometimes there are opportunities that come our way and we have to break the budget. We don't have a finance manager lah. I make all the decisions. So we're Dreamcore. We're opening a retail shop specifically for Land Cafe, right? And even though this sounds very passé, or maybe when you're kid, you go to these land shops and play games, it really ties back to our greater ecosystem of loyalty programs, membership rewards, and all these things. And it becomes more of a tech SaaS play rather than just a hardware solution.
Any last questions? One more?
So, hi, I'm Vicky. And here today we're talking a lot about growing internationally, sales and all of that. But I wonder, how do you manage complaints overseas? I mean, it's bound to happen. So yeah, it's just some curiosity.
It's actually for us, in every business, there is bound to be customers who are not happy with us. So for us, we have a guiding principle, which is customer obsession. So for us, every time the customer says something, they are always right. So if they want a refund, usually if it's like not unreasonable, we will just refund them. And then make them happy. And then it's okay if like 1% of the customers scams us because they are not reasonable and everything. But to us, is for the long-term wise, refunding them this time to retain a customer, to make a customer happy, goes a long way in the long-term business of making more and more customers happy. So it's okay if we lose out that 1 or 2 refunds here and there. It doesn't really matter. And also because our product is not like super high end,
yeah, that was what I was about to say. Because refund 1 or 2 baby product is okay.
Yeah.
Refund a few computers is a different story.
Yeah, our product is all like $20, point like $2,000 there. I don't know how he does it, so maybe.
I know he has a story there. Yeah,
he probably needs a service center and everything.
Yeah, you wanna share a little bit?
So we used to handle. Okay, so some of the things that we are the subject matter experts in PCs, right? So when we handle the cases ourselves, we can get through to the customer and explain very clearly what's going on. But as the company grows, as our customer base grows, then we need to hire outside of the tech group. So we actually outsource some of our call centers to the Philippines as well to reduce some of our costs. And then that creates a barrier of understanding. Sometimes we don't train them properly or their knowledge isn't great. But nonetheless, having someone that can directly speak to the customer as and when, no matter what time of the day, I think that resolves most of the customers' complaints already. It's only when the customer feels unheard that is where trouble starts, and that's where you get the bad reviews and all that. Regarding what Reginald spoke about scams, this year has been like record scam for us, right? Record. And the crazy thing is they make use of all the local 3PLs, whether it's Lala Move. So the recent one we had, I think 2 of them, they basically use fraudulent credit cards. This is quite basic, but they buy PCs and they have the PC shipped to a 3PL facility. And then within the next day, it ships out to Vietnam or Myanmar. And then 4 days later, the guy whose credit card got stolen, he's like, oh, this is a fraudulent request. The banks will call back the money from us And then we lose that $2,000, $3,000. And our margins, our GP is not as high as a FMCG product. It's maybe 10 to 15%. So you're talking like you're definitely losing money on this.
Crazy.
So how do you solve? I also want to find out how do you mitigate. What are you doing to like try to mitigate this? All these
Raise more money.
Yeah, I can email to Sean at Dreamcore.
Now we have to train the staff, right? We have to train the staff. We were an attack of phishing as well. So they changed the domain. So Kim Lee was one of the construction companies that we serve, right? And then somebody just changed the domain to kim-lee.sg instead of kimlee.sg, for example. And then we delivered. My guy didn't really check the domain because you kind of just trust. And then they shipped like 30,000, 40,000 worth of stuff to a 3PL warehouse again, and then it's gone. We didn't fire the guy, but so ultimately it's about training. Okay, check for domains, check for industrial addresses. If it's kind of local homes, normal condo, HDB addresses, I think that's fine. But when we see company B2B addresses, we need to take note. So that's the only thing that we can do. Second part on the payment system is when you use your payment gateways, you turn on 3DS. So instead of just going through, put your CVV 3-digit thing, you get a phone notification as well, then the transaction goes through. And usually on a stolen credit card, you won't have the 3DS.
Okay, cool. I'm interested why you never fired the guy. But that's a different story. Yes. Ho Feng, anything to add?
Yeah, there are some of the e-commerce platforms allow you to do some level of fraudulent detections. For example, right, then they can cross-check the billing address and delivery address whether it's matched. And then threshold certain amount or certain value. And then if they do such cross-check and then they suspect it's a fraudulent one, they will be able to like bring up this case to you, and so that they send you notifications. And then you can zoom into it and to check out those details. But you still need to do your KYC and due diligence test on those suspicious transactions.
Okay.
For a website whereby we use Shopify, we actually do what he said. Like certain threshold it hits, because they'll send a notification to us. So like somebody ordered $500 of baby product, then we will get notified.
That's a
and
big
then the
baby.
shipment will be on hold.
No wonder I'm on a WordPress.
Yeah.
Must use Shopify.
Yeah, must use Shopify.
That's a different.
We can talk about that separately.
Okay. Great. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your questions. Maybe just one last thing to wrap it up. Knowing what you know today, how would you do it differently when you expand into a new market?
I think finding the right partner, and not just a partner because he's a local guy that can open a bank account and all that. It's more like a local partner that can leverage your existing business to grow in that market. I think that's super important. Whether he brings operational skills to the table, or capital raising skills to the table, or even technology skills to the table, right? If he, for example, I get a guy like him, then everything else will be SEO, SEM, digital, my website will be all done very, very well.
Fair. Okay. Ho Feng, last thing.
Yeah, for me, I think one thing that I want to share with the merchants would be start your retention strategies as early as possible. Even you are newly starting up your e-commerce online stores, and then you are at the early 0 to 1 acquisition stage. That doesn't mean that the retention is not important to you. So it matters a lot. We have seen some of the data, some of the successful merchants, their retention, especially with the marketing automations and email marketing attributed retentions, can attribute to as high as 50 to 60% of the GMVs. So if you start earlier, then you start to accumulate all these data and at a much earlier stage, and then it will be a lot easier for you when you pass over the heavy acquisition stage to the retention phase.
Okay, thank you. Can we give them a round of applause? Thank you for your time. Thank you for their time.